study this. Some of it you're familiar with, others we will go into detail of and working with on this. The first 2 chapters are fairly short in this, as we want to go ahead and as we will finish up with Mark on this and get into Exodus and see the story. Now, you have to remember back in Genesis, the account of God developing a nation, the nation to be the nation of Israel. Of course, in this, as the end of the book of Genesis, you only have just a few souls that are to be of this nation to start with. This is the family of Israel, and which you have the 12 sons. So in Exodus chapter 1 and verse 1, now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob. Now you know how that Jacob was sold by his brothers into bondage, taken down to Egypt, and then God made him next to the Pharaoh. They went through 7 years of famine, plenty, and then a famine. And of course in this, Egypt became a great nation because of the wisdom that God had given Joseph. Joseph was a very powerful man. And then as his brothers came down to Egypt to get grain and all, and corn for their home, Joseph began to deal with them and then revealed himself to them that he was alive. Joseph's father could hardly believe this. Then finally, when the reality came, they brought the whole family down into Egypt. And so we find in verse 2 the list of the sons that came with Jacob, which is Reuben, Simon, Levi, and Judah. Then we have Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, and then Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. These boys became the head of known as the 12 tribes of Israel. So the nation of Israel, now Jacob's name was changed from Jacob to Israel. That became the name of the nation. These families of these 12 sons became each a tribe and part of the nation of Israel. And so as they come down into Egypt, we find now in Exodus, and all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And so you just got a handful. From this small number, millions are developed into a great nation that God had promised Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And so now we just see a small number. Now they increase. Joseph died and all his brethren and all that generation. So now in Exodus we're coming to the place. Joseph had already passed away. All of the leaders have passed away. All you've got are the descendants now that are left, and they keep their family relation and the tribal relationship that's there. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mightily, and the land was filled with them. When they came down, they were to settle in the land of Goshen, and just about 70 or 80 that was there. Then over these years, now it's come to where they have multiplied, and they are more than the Egyptians in that area. And so we find this presents a problem with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. For a while, as they went along, Joseph's influence carried on after his death. Now that's gone. Time has gone by. Much of this has been forgotten or not dealt with on this. And so now you have a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. He said to his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. So we've got a problem here. Does this sound familiar? What we've got in America and what's going on as we have other nations come in, and we had a lot of people got upset with the population and the growth of the Hispanics. We used to call them Mexicans. Now I think it's Hispanic is the term that's used on that. The same thing with other ethnic groups that have come into it. Now there's a threat, and people are worried about the Muslims that are coming into our country and multiplying throughout the world. And as you go through the figures will convince you that these can be threats. But they will be if America continues to go away from God.
That's right. Yeah.
But if America will come back to God, you don't have to worry about that. God will take care of that for us.
Yes.
But if we neglect God, we cannot take care of it. And it will present, and it is presenting, a serious problem in this. Well, so the king of Egypt says, well, come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when they falleth out in any war, or when they fought out in any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. We've got a thread here. Whose side are they going to be on? Whose side are these other groups coming in going to be on? Same thing going on involved this. So he plans. He has a little plan that he's going to make with it. By the way, let me pause here. I forgot to give you the outline on this. Let's pass these out. You would down the table there. I'll give you one too. So his first plan that he's going to have to try to take control of this group. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Rames, and so they began to afflict them, make them as slaves. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. So this plan failed. The more they tried to suppress them and put them down, the more they increased in this. Only God can take care of the problem for us. Of course, Pharaoh didn't look into God. That's a different thing. Of course, God would be with Israel and watch over them in this matter. Then we find in verse 13 and 14, the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and mortar and brick and all manner of service in the field, and all their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. They really, really punished them and tried to have them under their thumb as slaves and just really wear them out. But this didn't work and didn't succeed in this. So in verse 15, and the king of Egypt spake unto the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. And he said, when you do office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, then she shall live. So we'll just control the birth rate. And it wouldn't matter of giving them pills so they couldn't have children. It didn't matter if any male child would be born, they would destroy that child. So they'd keep the population down and try to keep the growth down by doing this. Well, that didn't work either. We'll see that in verse 17 and 18. But the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this thing and have saved the men children alive? Well, in verse 19, and the midwives said unto Pharaoh, behold, the Hebrew women are not as Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ere the midwives come unto them. So these are not like your natives around here. They're tough. They can handle these children. They can give birth to them themselves. And then it went on to say in verse 20, therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mightily. Everything they tried to do just backfired on them. God was with them in this. Now, in verse 21, it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born you shall cast in the river, and every daughter you shall save alive. So now, the plan was that, all right, all the male children would be cast in the river, and the midwives wouldn't take care of this, so this is the law. You've got to do this. Well, this task also fails in that.